Now we are going to solve the question answers from the short story The Last Lesson by Alphonse Daudet. So if you are new to my channel and you find this video to be helpful, then please help me by subscribing to my channel. Now, before we begin the first question, let us have a look at the extract. For a moment, I thought of running away from there too, but I had the strength to resist and hurried off to school. Now, the first part of the question. Who is referred to as I in the extract? Where was he? Why does he think of running away? Like I tell you in all my videos, when you have a part question which has multiple parts, you have to answer each part in separate paragraphs. And whenever you are answering the first half of any question, you have to mention the name of the short story along with the name of the author. So, who is referred to as I in the extract? The quoted lines have been taken from Alphonse Daudet's short story, The Last Lesson. I in the extract refers to little Franz. So, see, note over here, the last lesson, that is the name of the short story, has to be written within single quote. And whenever you are quoting from the text, be it a word or a phrase, a single letter like I or a phrase like little Franz, even then you have to write it within double quotes. Now what does the question say? Where was he? Franz was on his way to school. Why does he think of running away? Franz thought of running away not only because he was late for school, but also because he was unprepared with his French lessons on participles. Franz feared cranky M. Hamel's ruler and scolding. Now coming to the second part. Why does he want to spend the day outdoors? Which of his characteristic trait is revealed from his wish? So the first part first. Franz wanted to spend the day outdoors to escape M. Hamel's scolding. Moreover, the birds chirping at the edge of the forests and the Prussian soldiers drilling in the meadows behind the sawmill was more tempting in a weather so warm and bright. Now the second half of the same question, what does it say? Which of his characteristic trait is revealed from his wish? So from Franz's wish, we may conclude that he took his education for granted. However, he was a nature lover and a keen observer. In the words of Shakespeare, Franz was a winning schoolboy, unwilling to school. So you see, if you use cross-references from other texts, it enhances your answer. Now coming to the third part. What is the presence of Prussian soldiers a reference to? How does their presence affect the people? So the answer is, the presence of the Prussian soldiers is a reference to the Franco-Prussian War that took place in 1870 between France and the German states. The war ended with the victory of the German states led by Prussia against the unprepared French army. And how does their presence affect the people of France? The Prussians not only interfered in the education system of France by replacing French with German, but also hampered the religious beliefs by blowing trumpets during the Angelus. The French were forced to abide by the orders of the German states. Now the fourth part. What does the narrator find more tempting than the rule for participles? Does he fall for this temptation? What does he do? So the first half. The narrator found the chirping of the birds at the edge of the forests and the drilling of the Prussian soldiers in the open meadow behind the sawmill much more tempting than the rule for principles. So does he fall for this temptation? No, he does not fall for this temptation. What does he do? He endures his temptation and rushes to school. Now the fifth part, the last part of the first question. Explain briefly the characteristics of the person referred to as I in the extract. That is, you have to talk about little Franz. Franz was a little boy who lived in Alsace district of France. Although he was a nature lover, he had self-control. He had the ability to resist the tempting atmosphere. Despite being afraid of M. Hamel, Franz took his French lessons for granted. He was a keen observer and preferred spending the day out of doors. Finally, when he realized his love for nature deprived him from forming his identity, Franz was sorry and felt bad enough. His disappointment led to his self-realization. Now coming to the second question. So let us have a look at the extract. My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. I want you to be very attentive. So the first part. Who is addressing whom in this extract? How has the narrator described his tone before the beginning of this extract? So, just like I said, you have to mention the name of the short story and the writer in the first half. So, the answer is, the quoted lines have been taken from The Last Lesson by Alphonse Daudet. M. Hamel, the cranky French teacher, addressed the quoted words to his students. And how has the narrator described his tone before? The narrator described M. Hamel's tone as grave and gentle before the beginning of this extract. Now the second half. Why did the narrator say that it would be his last lesson? Which lesson is he talking about? So the narrator said that it would be his last lesson because it was M. Hamel's last class with them. And which lesson is he talking about? He was talking about the last French lesson delivered by M. Hamel in the presence of his students, the former mayor, Hosser, the former postmaster, and the villagers of Alsace. Now the third part. What order had come from Berlin and why? So the answer is, the order had come from Berlin to replace the French teaching with German teaching in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. And why was such an order taken? Such an order was passed because the German states had colonized France after the Franco-Prussian War, 1870. Replacement of the language would not only make communication easier but also restrict the foundation of French identity. Now the fourth part. Who is referred to in the extract as the new master? How would this new master affect the people of Alsace and Lorraine? So the answer is, in the extract, the German teacher who would replace M. Hamel in Alsace is referred to as the new master. And how would he affect the people? The new master would prevent the people of Alsace from attaining the key to their prison. He would deprive the people who could neither speak nor write in French from forming their identity, thereby enslaving the people of Alsace and Lorraine. Now the last part of the second question. Explain briefly how the last lesson is an appropriate title. So the answer is, lessons are conducted for a desirable outcome. M. Hamel wanted to instill in his students the love for their mother tongue and respect for France. He was successful in raising their patriotism at one stroke. Therefore, the title is appropriate as it was M. Hamel's last purposeful class in French, as he handed the key to their prison by declaring "Vive la France." Now we will be doing the third question. So let us quickly have a look at the extract. I won't scold you, little France. From there, neither speak nor write your own language. So the first part. What has France done for which M. Hamel said that he would not scold him? And why? So again, because this is the first part, how do we begin the answer? The quoted extract has been taken from the last lesson by Alphonse Daudet. During the last lesson, when it was France's turn to recite the rule of French principles, France, who took his lessons for granted, stood afraid, grabbing his desk. Mixing up the first words, France lacked the courage to look up, which made M. Hamel say that he would not scold him. And why did he say so? The silence of France, the palpitating of his heart, The grabbing of his desk and his lack of courage to look up made M. Hamel realize that Franz must have felt bad enough for ignoring his lessons. The self-realization of Franz and M. Hamel's own heartbroken condition made him take such a decision. Now the second half. To whom is M. Hamel referring to by using the pronoun we? What is suggested by it? M. Hamel referred to the people of Alsace as we. And what is suggested by it? The pronoun we suggests that it was a collective fault of the people of Alsace to take their mother tongue for granted. It implies that every individual was equally responsible for their great trouble. Now the third part. What have they said every day to themselves? What is its consequences? So the answer is, with a layman's attitude for studies, the people of Alsace postponed their learning of French till tomorrow. They told themselves every day that they had plenty of time to learn. And what was its consequence? The postponing of the lessons deprived the people from forming their identity. As a consequence, they were unable to find the key to their prison when they were enslaved by the German states. Now the fourth part. Who are the fellows referred to in this extract? What will they say to them? Are they right in saying so? Give reasons. So who are the fellows? M. Hamel referred to the commanding Prussians as fellows in the given extract. And what will they say to the French people? The Prussians will question the identity of Frenchmen who could neither speak nor write in their own mother tongue. And are they right in saying so? Yes, they are right in saying so. And what is the reason behind it? Language builds the identity of an individual. The Frenchmen delayed their learning till tomorrow, which led to their identity crisis. Therefore, the fellows will rightly question the patriotism of the people of Alsace. Now the last part of this third question. Explain briefly the theme indicated in the extract. So the answer is, in the extract, Alphonse tries to project the importance of one's mother tongue. Through the character of M. Hamel, the theme that language builds our identity, both as an individual and as a group, is highlighted. Language is a key to the prison of slavery, and therefore we should not put off learning till tomorrow. One's mother tongue is a key to freedom, freedom to express, and the freedom from dictatorship. Now the fourth question. Then from one thing to another, M. Hamel went on to talk of the French language. From there to put it all in our heads at one stroke. So the first part. What does M. Hamel say about the French language? So the quoted extract has been taken from the last lesson by Alphonse Daudet. According to M. Hamel, the French language was the most beautiful language in the world. It was not only the clearest language but also the most sensible language. For M. Hamel, the people of Alsace should guard their language and never forget it, for it was the key to their prison. Now the second half. What happens to people when they do not learn their language? And how does the language act as a key to the prison of the enslaved? So what happens to the people? When people do not learn their language, they deprive themselves from forming their identity, both as an individual and as a group, especially when they are colonized. And how does the language act as a key? Language helps a person to communicate and allows them to express their thoughts freely. Thus, by providing the key to express, language gives freedom in the prison of slavery. It allows one to express, like the cooing of the pigeons. Now the third part. Why did Franz feel that he was able to clearly understand the last lesson taught by M. Hamel quite easily? Why could he not understand it earlier? So why could he understand it on the last day? Franz felt that he was able to clearly understand the last lesson taught by M. Hamel quite easily because he had never been so attentive in class before. Moreover, M. Hamel seemed to deliver his last lesson with much patience. And why could Franz not understand it earlier? Franz had a layman's attitude towards studies. He found the seeking for birds' eggs and sliding in the sour more tempting than learning the rule of French participles. Taking his mother tongue for granted, Franz skipped his lessons and attended his classes inattentively. Therefore, he failed to understand earlier. Now the fourth part. Why did M. Hamel put extra effort to teach the students in his last class? So the answer is M. Hamel had been teaching French in Alsace for 40 years. On realizing that it was his last lesson, he wanted to impart among his students all he knew. He wanted to use his last lesson as an opportunity to put it all into his students' head so that they could guard their mother tongue. He put extra effort to teach the students in his last class, to hand them the key to their prison. Now the fifth part and the last question from this chapter. Explain briefly how N. Hamill was a patriot who wanted to instill among his students the love for their language and respect for their country. So the answer is, on realizing that French would be replaced by German from the next day, M. Hamill wanted to instill among his students the love for their language, addressing the French language as most beautiful, clearest, and most logical. M. Hamill wanted to guard the language as well as hand the key to their prison. By distributing copies with France Alsace written on them and ending the class with Vive la France, M. Hamill proved his patriotism. So with this, we have completed all the possible questions that can come from this chapter. If you want to have a look at the explanation, you can check the description box where I have given the link to the explanation of this chapter. Moreover, we have a separate Telegram group and a WhatsApp channel where you may join for notes and grammar practice. So till I come up with my next video, happy studying English. Ta-da!